Namaste, angels. This is the weekly general reading for the period of tomorrow, June 14th, which is Flag Day, and actually the so-called President Donald Trump's birthday. A lot of people are planning to instead celebrate an Obama Day, where we post pictures all over the internet and everything. I guess particularly Twitter of former President Obama, the 44th president, 44 being a number that represents archangels, by the way. And the reading goes through the 20th of the month. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the Christian calendar. And actually, I want to start by mentioning the number 3. When I go to the cards in a moment or after this, I'm going to, at least from the angel and animal tarots, begin with the 3 of summer or 3 of cups. And I saw a lot of 3s as I was shuffling, and I think it's going to be significant and may even come up when I briefly describe what Juneteenth is, which falls in the 19th of the month, and the what's called the General's Third Order. Of course, 3s also represent the Trinity and the Ascended Masters. And speaking of the Trinity, Jesus has a feast day this week, which happens to fall on the same day as Juneteenth. So I'll go into all of that in a minute as well. As a matter of fact, that's the first one with which we're going to start, because it is the first of the 2 feast days that I'm going to talk about for this week. So June 19th is the feast day of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It is a feast day that moves around the calendar similar to some others. It falls 19 days after the Pentecost. So long ago, some of you have been with me the whole time. Back in 2016, I explained that I had been told that 19 was a number that represented God the Father. And throughout all these historic events, dates that we go over, the other things that have come up in numerology, we've been able to prove that. This is just another day. So on 6/19, 19 days after the Feast of the Pentecost, which is when the Holy Spirit is said to have descended upon the earth, falls the feast day of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And for a little bit more about what that's about, I just went to Wikipedia. Sometimes I just pull up the first thing that pops up, and in this case it was Wikipedia. So let's see what they have to say about it. The feast day of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, it falls 19 days after the Pentecost on a Friday. Okay, so they're repeating that. I didn't know. Sorry. The earliest possible date that this feast day can fall on is May 29th. And as it did in the year 1818 or 99, and as it will in the year 2285, which is kind of like 2 13s, like 1313. Master number 22 or 4 can be made up by 13, 1111, of course. As can 85, 8 plus 5 equals 13. 1313 being the year that Moses died, by the way, 1313 BC. Just random stuff that be in my head. All right, so the latest possible date that this feast day can fall upon is July 2nd, as it did in 1943, and as it will again in 2038. Or like 1111, with 2 being 11 and 38 also equaling 11. Like this year, 2020, 1111, or 4 or 13, depending upon how you look at it. Master number 22, all those. The devotion to the Sacred Heart is one of the most widely practiced and well-known Catholic devotions, taking Jesus Christ's physical heart as the representation of his divine love for humanity. So that's what the feast day is about. They go on to talk about more background, history, and where it is celebrated all over the world. If people want to go further into it. But I'm going to move to Juneteenth, since there's so many things I want to talk about this week. So for this, what I pulled up here is juneteenth.com/history. So I think if you just put juneteenth.com, you'll get this page that I'm on. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. That first sentence. yes, this is how some people recognize it. For me, I'm a little bit more literal about it. It's the ending of slavery in the state of Texas. The rest of the states had already ended slavery along with when the Emancipation Proclamation was issued and told them to. So Texas was late getting the message, but they're marking it as the end of slavery in totality, which is fine for some people to consider it. You know, I'm just telling you that I don't. Dating back to 1865 or 9/11 or 11, it was on June 19th that Union soldiers, led by Major General Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. Note that this was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official on January 1st in the year 1863, or 1199, or 11, depending upon how you look at your numbers. Or 1919, maybe, right? Speaking of the 19s. The Emancipation Proclamation had little impact on Texans due to their minimal number of Union troops to enforce the new executive order. So that's why it didn't, it wasn't recognized in Texas. It's not that they had no idea, they ignored the order. And that's why I don't count it as the day that slavery ended in totality, but the day that it officially ended in the state of Texas. So they officially recognized it. However, with the surrender of General Lee in April of 1865 and the arrival of General Granger's regiment, the forces were finally strong enough to influence and overcome the resistance. Okay, listen to the words being used. Resistance. Later attempts to explain this 2.5-year delay in the receipt of this important news have yielded several versions of the story that have been handed down through the years. Often told is the story of a messenger who was murdered on the way to Texas with news of freedom. Another is that the news was deliberately withheld. I'd be more inclined to believe that personally, by the enslavers to maintain the labor force on the plantations. And still another is that federal troops actually waited for the slave owners to reap the benefits of one last cotton harvest. I believe that as well, before going to Texas to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation. All of which, or neither of these versions, could be true. Certainly for some, President Lincoln's authority over the rebellious states was in question. For whatever the reasons, conditions in Texas remained status quo, well beyond what was statutory. Okay, and here they do talk about General Order Number 3, and which is what I was connecting to the Three of Cups. One of General Granger's first orders of business was to read to the people of Texas General Order Number 3, which began most significantly with, quote, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired laborer, as opposed to somebody you just forced to work for you." The reactions to this profound news range from pure shock to immediate jubilation. While many lingered to learn of the new employer-to-employee relationship, many left before these offers were completely off of the lips of their former masters, attesting to the varying conditions of the plantations and the realization of freedom. Even with nowhere to go, many felt that leaving the plantation would be their first grasp of freedom. North was a logical destination, and for many it represented true freedom, while the desire to reach family members in neighboring states drove some to Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Settling into these new areas as free men and women brought on new realities and the challenges of establishing a heretofore non-existent status for Black people in America. Recounting the memories of that great day in June of 1865, its festivities would serve as motivation as well as a release from the growing pressures encountered in their new territory. The celebration of June 19th was coined Juneteenth and grew with more and more participation from descendants. The Juneteenth celebration was a time for reassuring each other, for praying, and for gathering remaining family members. Juneteenth continued to be highly revered in Texas decades later, with many former slaves and descendants making an annual pilgrimage back to Galveston on this date. There is typically a pilgrimage in South Carolina too, down to the water in Charleston. But I guess that I don't know if that happened this year or not. As a matter of fact, I have a friend on Facebook, a friend that I met through Facebook that I know was promoting one that I believe is virtual. I don't think they went in person, even in Charleston this year. So that was Juneteenth. Then going back to the Christian calendar, on the 20th to the following day, Saturday, the last day for which this reading is the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So 19th, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The 20th, the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And to talk about what that's about, I pulled up something called NewmanConnection.com, the Feast of the Immaculate Heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Feast of the Immaculate Heart of Mary is a devotional name used to refer to the interior life of the Blessed Virgin Mary, her joys and sorrows, her virtues and hidden perfections, and above all, her virginal love for God the Father, her maternal love for her son Jesus, and her compassionate love for all persons. Two elements are essential to the devotion of Mary's interior life and the beauties of her soul and Mary's virginal body. Something came up here that I connected with that too, physical body from the Universal Love Oracle. According to Roman Catholic theology, soul and body are necessary to the constitution of man. It was in 1855 that the Mass of the Most Pure Heart of Mary formally became a part of Catholic practice. Traditionally, the Heart of Mary in artwork is depicted with 7 wounds or swords in homage to the 7 sorrows of Mary. Also, roses or another type of flower may be wrapped around the heart. Veneration of the Immaculate Heart of Mary generally coincides with the worship of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. However, there is a difference that explains the Roman Catholic devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus is especially directed to, quote, divine heart, end quote, as overflowing with love for humanity. In the devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, on the other hand, the attraction is the love of her Immaculate Heart for Jesus and for God. A second difference is in the nature of the devotion itself. In devotion to the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, the Roman Catholic venerates in a sense of love, responding to love. In devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, love is formed from study and imitation of Mary's yes to God as the Mother of God, the Mother of Jesus. In this devotion, love is more the result than the object of the devotion, the object being rather to love God and Jesus by uniting oneself to Mary for this purpose and by imitating her virtues to help one achieve this. History of the devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary is connected in many ways to that of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Christians were drawn to the love and virtues of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and this paved the devotion from the beginning. Early Christians had compassion for the Virgin Mary, and the Gospels recount prophecy delivered to her at Jesus's presentation in the temple, and that her heart would be pierced with a sword. The image of the Immaculate Heart of Jesus, pierced with a sword. And we have Michael here with the sword. I just find it interesting, the cards that turned up in connection to the events of this week. The image of the Immaculate Heart of Mary with the pierced heart is the most popular representation. St. John's Gospel further invites us to the attention of Mary's heart with its depiction of Mary at the foot of the cross at Jesus' crucifixion. St. Augustine tells us that Mary was more blessed in having borne Christ in her heart than in having conceived him in the flesh. Yes, because she was a mother that lost her child, right? So that's the story of that. Moving on to the celestial calendar or planetary calendar for the week. We're only going to talk about that dreaded event that occurs on June 18th at 12:59 a.m. So first thing in the morning when we wake up, it'll be here. Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So for more on that, I've gone to www.tarot.com to see what they have to say about Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And here it is. Because Cancer rules all things connected to home and family, these are the exact areas that could experience mishaps while Mercury retrogrades through this sign. Miscommunication with family members or tension between relatives is common during Mercury retrograde in Cancer. It could, however, be a great time to reconnect with a family member that you haven't talked to in a long time. And we also see exes always returning during Mercury retrograde as well. And like old friends and stuff that you may or may not want to deal with or talk to. Problems like missing contracts, delayed plans, and miscommunicated information can plague the process. So that's what we have to expect with Mercury retrograde. And on that note, let's get into the dice and the cards. Beginning with the dice, and it's 50-50. This has a few meanings for me. It can be about balance. It can be about the odds, right? The chances. Could be yes, could be no, right? It can be about not only balance within, our own lives or as individuals, but balance in our relationships with other people, or in our work versus our play. It can be about the ability or the need to be able to both give and receive, give and take. It can be about literally like splitting things like bills and stuff like that. Dirty movie. It's about exchanging pictures and videos. Could actually be about like, the viral videos that we've been seeing go around, not just the country, but the globe for different reasons. A lot not so pleasant, but, that could be tied to dirty movie. On a more pleasant note, it can be like between two friends or, romantic interests or a couple and sharing pictures or maybe FaceTiming, talking together online, could be texting, but usually more like there is a movie, a picture, something involved. And lastly, party. Maybe some people celebrating something this week. I, as some of you know, am celebrating a birthday. Spirit says, forget it. Sex. And buy shoes. So the shoes can be for you to celebrate something or for a job or, making just nurturing yourself, feeling better. Sometimes for me, they're walking shoes, as in these boots are made for walking and like I'm out of here. It's the end of a relationship or something. The cards that we're beginning with, again, I think are very relevant here from the animal and Angel tarots, we have the Three of Cups, which is a card of celebration and being happy and reuniting with people, often, friends or groups of friends, but it could be a romantic interest or something too, family member, all those things. You may actually be spending some time being social, could be connected to party, going to some sort of event, wedding, party, barbecue, some sort of gathering or something. You have an exciting reason to celebrate, such as an engagement, wedding, graduation, or birth announcement. Remember to cherish those you love. The next card is upside down, so I won't really talk about it, but it is the 10 of Earth or Pentacles, a very happy family life, financial security, and finding magic in the little things in life. So this can be like some sort of celebration and getting together, but maybe not, all that large. Or again, reconnecting with family members, being social. It's not a huge thing, but you are making some connections and living life and enjoying life to the best of your ability. Can be something tied to a material event, a home, or money, and maybe, not a large amount that you should feel comfortable like risking or wasting, but, something decent comes through. Things should be going well, generally, with the Three of Cups, and you can look forward to at least one pleasant reunion with someone or something, so maybe with some money, or something material that you've, from which you've been apart for some time. Maybe some of you are going back to work and you're happy about that. It can also mean, again, celebration, either by yourself or on your own, or with or for someone that you care about, maybe somebody to whom you're close. They could be celebrating something major, like the birth of a baby, or again, some other happy occasion or something. And that may be why the 10 of Pentacles also appears behind it. In general, that says that you have a lot to be happy about. But you need to be careful about slipping into sort of a sense of boredom, and a desire to wanting to mix things up or shake things up just for the sake of, like creating drama for no reason, like just for the sake of having some, because you're bored. And it's not a good time to necessarily do that, or again, to take unnecessary risks. Moving on to Major Arcana card Judgment from the Rider-Waite Tarot. Represents the planet Pluto, which is currently in retrograde, located in the sign of Capricorn. Could be why we have the 6 of Pentacles in reverse appearing behind this card. And we have the 5 of Pentacles appearing behind that one, actually. But we also, it too is in reverse, which is, a good sign. When the 6 of Pentacles is in reverse, because it's about the need to, in general, the need to be able to, again, give and receive. Like I said, could be tied to 50-50. When it's in reverse, it can be pointing to you as maybe more so than other times, needing to be the one to be more generous with, or maybe to yourself, with other people. We have a nice progression here also from the 5 of Pentacles in reverse to the 6 of Pentacles. So it's gradual. Judgment for me is a card that's, I love Judgment. It's about abundance that's earned. Like, that's the primary thing for me. You deserve it. You're worthy. It's your karma, it's paying off in a positive way, that something is coming to you, and it can be money, or again, a job, something that you've been praying for, something that you want. This is Gabriel, blowing the horn to alert you and say, this is your time. You're going to heaven on earth. It can also be about reunions, again, with family and stuff, and not necessarily deciding to, or friends or whatever, business relations, romantic interests, not necessarily deciding to continue the relationship. It's like a crossroad that you come to, and you got to figure out, where do we go from here, if anywhere. And some people will decide to go further, and some people will decide it's the end of the road, and that maybe that's why you need your walking shoes, right? You got to buy shoes. That's a possibility. Judgment is also about second chances or second time around. There's many ways that can apply too. It can apply, maybe you applied for a job before, you didn't get it, you're applying again, Now you're going to get it. Or you applied for an apartment or a home, fell through your opportunity, but you've got another chance now. It's going to be better. It can be tied to relationships too. You tried before, it didn't work. We're going to try again. And maybe that is 50-50. Again, you win some, you lose some. So that could be tied to the 50-50 also. Physical body is about our body telling us messages. Could be tied to the energy of a fire sign. So far we had seen just a bunch of water. This could be tied to an energy of a fire sign, or maybe Jupiter or Mars. But more importantly, it's like your body may be giving you messages this week, and it's important that you listen to them. It's going to tell you when it needs something, when it doesn't need something, when it's had enough, when it needs, when it wants more. And it's going to be important for us to pay attention to those messages this week. And lastly, from the Keepers of the Light Oracle, again, Archangel Michael, trusting heaven, you are safe. Angels stand close. Surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to occur. So that note, I'm going to get started with a spread using the Rider-Waite deck. So we'll just tuck the other ones away for a second. I've been asking people to excuse my nails. I live in New York City, and we just began phase 1 of reopening on Monday. And so nail salons weren't one of the things, and I tried to hold on to my nails as long as I could, because my real nails are indeed underneath here. And so if they broke, I wanted them to break naturally. I didn't want to break them, and so I've been asking people to bear with me. Okay, the first card representing, let's put the overall energy here as a reminder for everybody to see. Again, it is Major Arcana card Judgment. And the card representing fire signs this week is the Seven of Cups in reverse. So you're making the choices that you need to make, and like you're ready to actually take some sort of action. In the past, you may have been like making lists, pros and cons. You had a bunch of options, a bunch of choices. You're deciding which one you want, and now things are moving, toward a more like concrete and action-oriented time in your life. Again, trust your gut. Remember the physical body card. Your body's going to tell you, your stomach's going to tell you, you're going to get butterflies, or you're going to get a sinking feeling, or you're going to get, heart palpitations. Something's going to happen where your body is going to be aiding you in figuring out what is the best choice for you. You may have already realized, what that is, and now you actually need the action. And so what you're going to be realizing this week to help with that is that you have to start somewhere. So just do it. Just do it, and you will be successful. All right, you're going to start to grow and thrive. Leo, Sagittarius, Aries. That was for you. Earth signs. Your energy. Major Arcana card 9, the Hermit in reverse. So first and foremost, I'm going to tell you that like the Three of Cups, which you've already seen as our overall energy in the other decks, the Hermit in reverse, and as it relates to love at least, can be about a relationship from your past rekindling. Maybe with a Virgo, right? The Hermit most directly represents the sign of Virgo. You're definitely going to have to ask yourself if it's really what you want. If you're thinking that you want... If you're thinking that you really want a romantic relationship with somebody in general, so whether it's an ex or not, you are going to have to... the Hermit is about introspection. And so this moves you, when it shows up like this in terms of love, to sort of check yourself, basically, and see if your behavior is aligning with what it needs to in order for you to not only maybe meet somebody but to maintain and have a healthy relationship. And if it doesn't, there may be some changes that you want to make. You got to make it a point to like meet people if you're interested in meeting people, reach out to people if you're interested in reaching out, especially if they've reached out to you. Remember, it's 50-50. This could be another place where 50-50 is coming up. And you could be one of those friends. And Virgos are like this sometimes, actually. And I have a love for Virgos. Actually, like 2-3 of my exes are Virgos. My son is a Leo Virgo. They do this. They can sometimes not respond. They're not respond. Like you just feel like the friendship is out of balance sometimes, at least with the men. I can't really say for the women necessarily, although my baby sister is a Virgo. In any case, you got to be careful of that. Whether we want to say it's true of Virgos in general or not, you got to be careful of this when the Hermit shows up in reverse. Of this, like, are you available, or are attempting to make yourself available, or to appear available for a relationship of any type, whatever the type is that you want to have. If it's a friendship, if it's a romantic relationship, even if it's a business situation, you have to be engaged, basically. So this guides you to go within, listen to your physical body. So here comes physical body again, and pay attention to what it is you want. And maybe you're getting some of this energy too, and narrowing down a decision as to what do I want. It's time I took action. Also, for those of you already in some sort of committed relationship, it's important that you make a point, if you want to maintain the relationship, to put, again, time, energy, attention into your partnership that already exists as well. Like, no matter how busy you claim to be, there's a saying, that people make time for what they want. And it's not always true. Sometimes we do have real difficulties. We have real serious things going on in our lives that prevent us from taking action, from moving forward. Maybe we're dealing with something emotional and stuff too. But in a general sense, where energies are positive and healthy, and people are positive and healthy, whether you're busy or not, if you want to do something, you'll find a way to do it. Okay, so that part is true. Gemini, not just Gemini, Lord. Air signs. I'm sorry. I was being very biased there because I'm a Gemini, of course. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. This is our card. It too is in reverse, and it is Major Arcana card, the Sun. Number 19. This is another 19. It's like for the Geminis again, at least it's like our 6 for the June, and then the 19, like the Juneteenth or the Sacred Heart of Jesus, could be connected to this. It is the Sun, right? And the SUN and the SON has a feast day this week, as I just talked about. So this card also means that things are probably going very well for us, just like the Three of Cups, which is our overall energy. And it's important for us to make effort to count our blessings. Because, for example, like I just said, New York is still in phase 1. My nails look horrible. I couldn't take my hair anymore. And I dyed it, and I left the dye sitting too long, and it got really dark. And so now my hair is really dark, and my hairdresser thinks it's hilarious. I have nails only on certain fingers. There's no nail salon for me to go to. I could have done something else, asked my daughters for help or whatever. I didn't, and now it's too late. I've waited all this time. And it's my birthday. So I can look at that in a negative way and say, like, geez. Or I can look at it in a positive way and say, like, and it's my birthday, in a more positive light. I made it another year. I have an otherwise good life. Yes, I've been dealing with these things, but I've been dealing with these things because I've been keeping myself healthy, right? As part of quarantine and taking care, so that maybe my next birthday can be a total turn up, because I'll still be here. I'll still be alive because I did what I had to do and I made it through. So it's that sort of thing. Of course, not about me, but like different ways of applying it in your life. What blessings might you be failing to count? and let's get to counting them. If there is something that's wrong in your life, it's like, whatever that is, there still tends to be things to be thankful and grateful for, no matter what. And I'm often humbled by people who definitely have less than I do, including when I go outside and I, pass and homeless people and overhear some of their conversations. It is very, very humbling to see that, even in those sort of states, there are people who are still very thankful for what they do have and, count themselves blessed in many ways. So how dare I not? You know what I mean? So it's just like that's what this card is about, staying mindful of all of that. And that helps to bring actually more blessings into your life. And it will help to bring more blessings into your life. It's a great time to also to socialize, maybe to get outside and into the sun, to meet people, do all those things, social distancing, not, withstanding and all that. And if somebody was dealing with some sort of health issue, either you or somebody close to you, you'll probably be getting good news about that, or they'll be showing signs of recovery from whatever that was this week as well. Also, things like x-rays and CAT scans, things involving rays, cancer treatments going particularly well this week. Water signs. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Your card is the 9 of Wands. Upright. You have the only upright card. That's interesting. So this is about your need to just like pause. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Calm down, right? Don't let things get to you. Don't let things overwhelm you. Don't let things like make you feel defeated. This is about taking one step at a time, one day at a time, and persevering, because like you're almost to the end. You're almost past that finish line. You're almost, you're just shy of a win here. So yeah, you may be tired. Yeah, every now and then something may pop up that really feels like it's the most you can take and you can't take any more. But you are going to find the energy, water signs, to do whatever else it is you need to do this week to get you all the way to the end and out of a problem. When you come out on the other end, I have a feeling it's going to be very, very positive for you. As a matter of fact, we'll pull another card to see if it is. If you do have a fear about something, because sometimes it's going to be tied to worries too, then maybe you want to use some of this energy with the Hermit and sort of try to figure out what those things are and narrow it down and deal with it that way. Sometimes when we can tackle the root of something, then we can really get beyond it. And, find some comfort for yourself. That could be a way to bring in the energy of the 3 of Cups, finding a way to nurture yourself, or to be happy, to spend some time being social, getting together with people that you love or care about in some way, or haven't seen in a long time, could be ways that help you to make it through this, rough patch, we call those, when we just feel a little bit funky. And what is the next card? It's another upright card, and it is a very positive one. It's the High Priestess. Okay, so she's super intuitive, like you guys tend to be, very naturally. Representative more so for me of the sign of Gemini, especially with Isis appearing on the card here in the Rider-Waite. Maybe a Gemini is particularly significant to you, or you may have your own Gemini energy as well. In addition to the water, there could be something, maybe this is tied to physical body too. Some of you may be feeling sort of down and out as it relates to a diet or trying to gain weight, trying to lose weight, something about yourself. And maybe, again, your physical attributes about which you're not necessarily happy. But let me tell you, everybody else finds you extremely attractive. Everybody else is in awe of you. Everybody else wants to get to know you. When you have this High Priestess energy, it sets you apart even from the queens in the deck. There's 4 of them. There's only one High Priestess, right? And so, she is particularly wise and intelligent and intuitive. And if she has one of these decisions to make, if there is something that she's needing to, like, what kind of action am I going to take to make it past this last hurdle? She's going to use all of those, that intelligence, the intuition, physical messages from physical body, all those things, come up with the best possible way to move forward, and then do it probably very silently. And then, so no one's going to see the metamorphosis between this. They might not even get to see this, right? Then you never see a sweat. The metamorphosis between this feeling of being down and out and this feeling of coming out completely on top. Because she's going to move in silence and handle her business and, say, hey, I'm back, once she is on top, once she is successful. For some people, this could be tied to relationship too, as Major Arcana card 2. It is a card of partnership, relationship. If it's romantic relationships, it could be something like some sort of stark differences, like these two pillars. One is black, one is white. You could have a racial issue. And we have racial issues worldwide right now. And so maybe in your personal life, this is bringing up something that you need to get beyond in your relationships. You'll be able to do that. Age differences, whatever, religious differences, or one is religious and one is spiritual. And how do we get beyond that? You'll figure out a way, okay, with the High Priestess showing up there too. Now, I think in consideration of the length of this video, I'm just going to do some more clarification rather than another spread. I do a few spreads during the love reading. So I'm going to, we've seen what the deck wanted us to see so far. There's too many cards here for me to, shuffle that way. So I, just cut them a bunch of times to get them like more mixed up from what I showed you before. And then normally when I'm pulling clarifiers, I'll only pull like the next upright card. But I'll just take whatever card is at the bottom this time, right, to further clarify these. Okay, so for now, our overall energy becomes the Four of Earth, or Four of Pentacles. Being too frivolous or too cautious with money, good business decisions, and giving to those less fortunate. For me, this card is also about the need, very often, to walk away from something. It could be a living condition, a job, a relationship, and we need to walk away. We should be walking away, but we're staying with it. Why we're staying with it? Because there's something that is some sort of benefit, although that benefit is not satisfactory in terms of happiness, right? I've said on this channel before, and I've said a long time in life in general, life is both too long and too short to be unhappy. You don't want to live 80, 90, 100 years and unhappy. You don't want to, live 80, 90, 100 years, or less than that. You don't want to have a shorter life than that and be unhappy either. So what are you going to do? You need to walk away from these things that are making you unhappy. So if you're working at a job just because it pays the bill, right now there's a lot of people out of work, so it may be a little bit more difficult than normal for you to leave that job. But maybe, moonlight. Maybe if there's something you want to do in your spare time, like start your own business, maybe while you're earning those paychecks from the place that's all they provide you with is a check and no satisfaction. While you're taking those checks, you can get started on something else so that you can position yourself to leave that job, or similarly with relationships. You say, oh, well, we split the bills, or I'm used to them. It's like the devil, or something. I'm comfortable here, even though we don't talk and we don't sleep in the same bed or the same room or whatever. Start making plans and figuring out a way out of that situation. And even if it's not romantic, some of us are in living conditions, like with family members or friends. because, you know, there is some sort of benefit there, but, you know, we want our own space. So we do want to move in with a loved one rather than, you know, be there. And so when this card shows up to guide us to figure out how to do that, because we're never truly stuck. We can feel stuck. Oh, excuse me. We can feel stuck, but we're never truly stuck. There is always some sort of way out. All right. So clarifying further against for the fire signs, your 7 of Cups in reverse is the dreamer or the fool. It's also turning up in reverse, but technically there's no reversals in this particular deck. So you're starting a new adventure. Run free and take a leap of faith. This is saying, you know, when you narrow this thing down, it probably is a path you never walked before. Maybe that's why it took you so long to take action, but you're ready. Okay. And it's going to be something that's positive for you and, you know, conducive to growth. So be the fool, take a risk. 50-50, go for it, basically. For the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, your card also turning up in reverse, but again, there's no reversals in this deck. It is Major Arcana card 14, Balance, which is actually Temperance in the traditional tarot. Temperance represents the sign of Sagittarius most directly, and it's a Sagittarius may be, you know, particularly significant to you in your life. Or another thing is this could be, you know, maybe mostly for the Capricorns of this group. And you have Sagittarius's ruler located in your sign in retrograde currently. The planet Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn along with Pluto. So that could be another reason. Similar to the High Priestess with the black and white pillars, we have this zebra, black and white stripes. And this card can also be about trying to figure out a way to come together despite our differences. So some people are doing that. Maybe it's tied to judgment, our overall energy. And it's the second time around. This work, this business relationship, this romantic relationship, this familial relationship, whatever, this friendship. But let's try again. Let's figure it out. I can look past your differences. You can look past my differences. Or I understand them now, right? I understand yours. You understand mine. We can incorporate them together. You know, we can take the black. We can take the white. We can become striped. We can become polka dotted. We can become gray. You know, there's ways that we can work it through. Also for me, temperance is about being like recovery and restoration and being made whole, like where there was lack, where there was loss. Something is being replaced. Also, by merging varying points of view, you can now generate an extraordinary new idea, compromise with others, and collaborate to discover a better solution. For the air signs, clarifying the sun in reverse, the 7 of fire. Defend your beliefs and decisions. Stand your ground, but choose your battles wisely. So if there is some sort of action that we're taking also, because wands are about movement. So both of these cards, because the sun represents the sign of Sagittarius and the planet Jupiter most directly too. So both of these are about fire, about wands, and wands are about movement, progress, action, like the planet Mars, right? The planet of aggression, of action. So when we take some action too, it's about, this card is about defending ourselves, and to the extent that we don't let anybody like change our minds for us, or give us like a false impression of anything. We check everything out ourselves. We listen to our own physical bodies for the answers. You know, we handle our own business in our own lives. So that is for us, air signs. And lastly, for the water signs, very nice. Just like was underneath the cards that I pulled before, the 6 of air, or 6 of swords. Things are looking up. It's the end of a difficult situation, and you may even be taking a trip soon. So this is a card of metaphoric movement or literal movement. It can be an actual trip, perhaps across water, and that could still be local. Like I can go to Brooklyn right now, and that means I'm gone on a trip, a local trip where I cross water, you know. So it doesn't have to be something so serious like an actual vacation, but you know, it's about progress and movement forward, never backward. It's always a positive card. So again, where I was telling you that this 9 of Wands is saying you're almost to the end, you're almost beyond whatever the difficult situation is or the thorn in your side. This is more reconfirmation added to the High Priestess. And I'm going to do the same in terms of clarification with the Universal Love Oracle as well. These I actually could have shuffled the traditional way, right? There's not that many cards, but oh well, I did it this way, okay? I just wasn't thinking. There was no rhyme or reason to it. All right, so now, very interesting, we end up with the bottom, heaven on earth. Didn't I say that this is what the universe was trying to bring us this week? Heaven on earth. So maybe this is a reconfirmation for me in the reading. This card also for me brings in combinations of air and fire energy most strongly. So again, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo, you know, could be particularly significant, or having relationships together and stuff, dealings together, or maybe you have both of these elements in your heart, in your own chart very heavily. More important than that, and this card shows up to say that if we want to be able to experience heaven on earth, that we need to clear the space where we're holding on to hell. Like I just said about this. This card for me is about holding on to something that we need to let go of. It is taking up the space that we're something that we deserve and want and would really make us happy in our lives could have. So the space that heaven could have, hell is taking up. When I picked this up, I should have done this before. Major Arcana card 17, the star, which represents the sign of Aquarius, you know, I'm talking about the air signs, is immediately behind it. And actually, this could be something having to do with Uranus, Aquarius's ruler, currently being located in Taurus. That's possible too. Happy times, make positive, optimistic, long-term plans. You are on the right path. And the next card is upside down, but it is the Eight of Swords. Again, this card is a card about being, you know, trapped, and it being a false illusion. You're not really trapped. We're never really trapped. So you're not really trapped just because well, I need somebody to split the rent with. Do you really? Do you really? Because some of us go ahead and get divorced and say, listen, I don't want to die. I just can't be married to this person anymore. Some of us say, I, have been a single parent for a long time. It's usually a woman. And I'm not getting anywhere in this city. I'm going to move to another city. Some people do it from other countries. Many, many stories of people who migrated to the United States. I came here with $100 in my pocket and look at me now. So if they weren't stuck, you're not. And it's just a matter of figuring out for yourself through that hermit energy what you can stand and what you can bear and what choices you have. But again, this is saying that we're going to get beyond whatever this hurdle is. And both of these are eights, I will point out as well, right? The 8 of air or swords, major arcana card 17 equals 8. 8s are about karma. So it ties back into what I said here. We deserve something better. We deserve good. That's what judgment is here to say. And this is confirming that and saying yes. Not only are you getting good and what you deserve, but what you've prayed is what you're getting. Those things you've made a focused intention on is what you're getting. Those things that you've wished for, dreamed about is what you're getting. Those things you've successfully manifested is what you're getting. The star is also a card of communication. So again, maybe you haven't spoken to somebody, heard from somebody in a long time. This week could very well be the time that you finally do. So we're going to further clarify again the same way. The next card from this deck, and this may be relating more so toward love and relationship, these cards, this is the Universal Love Oracle. To the fire signs, your card is birth. So I talked all about the Trinity and stuff. This is a card that's very much about like a rebirth for me, or birth for a first time. For some of you, that could be the new adventure, right? Maybe something having to do with parenthood, having a baby, starting a family, getting married, or starting a relationship or whatever. It could be, if it's not a literal birth and a new human coming into the world, the birth of something new for you in your life, a brand new path. So it ties in perfectly here with the Fool or the Dreamer. You're starting a new adventure. Run free and take a leap of faith. I like the Pentecostal dove that shows up on here, particularly with the Sacred Heart being celebrated this week. For the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, your card is Eternal Flame. somebody, something that, again, this ties in with our overall energy, that Three of Cups. Somebody or something that you haven't had in your life in a long time is coming back, and it's something that you long for, that you desire. So it goes along with the Temperance card, and when I was talking about being made whole, where there was lack, where there was loss, there's restoration. This reconfirms that for me. Air signs: Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Our card is spiritual growth, and it's more this red and fire. So there definitely some sort of fire sign could be particularly significant for us this week. If it's not an actual fire sign, a Leo, Sagittarius, or Aries, it can be, again, that fire energy. Mars, calling us to action. Telling us, moving us to go after our passions. Jupiter, rewarding us, karma, right? Jupiter is the planet of karma and of luck, and of growth and of expansion. So it ties in here with the spiritual growth. Jupiter gifting us maybe some birthday stuff, for us Geminis at least. And lastly, for the water signs, your card is sorrow. So again, there's something that you need to get beyond, but the other cards show very much so that you will get beyond it. And I think it's interesting that it's a depiction of Mary, right? And we have the feast day this week falling for her. Something could be going on, particularly on that day, on the 20th of June, might be where you find the most movement in whatever your situation is, and getting behind the difficult, or putting the difficulty behind you, getting past that difficulty and struggle that have been holding you back. I'll pull another card for you. It is divine guidance. So again, pay attention to intuition and be willing to surrender and allow the universe to help you. When the moon shows up, the moon is a sign of a need to surrender for me. And so when you're receiving divine guidance, it's saying don't just receive it, but really receive it and believe it and follow it and let go and let it happen. So that is a positive ending for you. Further advice from this deck and from these. I'll look for a card from the other deck. And from this that we didn't use yet, the Keepers of the Light Oracle. Okay. Masculine got a whole bunch. A whole bunch. So I'll go through his first. Masculine archetypes. Your first card is Cloak of Wisdom. You already know the answer you seek. Trust what you know. So I said that earlier too, that some of you may have already made a decision about something. You just haven't taken the action. So this will be the week where you realize that it's time for you to take action too. Also, Mercury. Mercury goes retrograde this week. Open communication. Get a weight off your chest. Speak up with love and be heard. So you could be having communication with somebody. Just keep in mind what I said about Mercury and Cancer, and that communications can be known to go left, and that should give you extra motivation to say what you mean and mean what you say. Be very clear, emphatic about what it is you're trying to convey, because things can get easily misunderstood during Mercury retrograde. And next, Commander Ashtar, call to action. I think I used that phrase this week too. Sometimes during this reading, I said something about a call to action. Oh yeah, I said Gabriel was calling us. Take charge, lead by example, walk your talk. Yeah, I just said that. Say what you mean what you say. And lastly, higher learning, which is very hermit / Hierophant for me. You have learned from experience. More inner study is now required for further progress. So this is guiding you to do that introspection that the Hermit guides you to do, to figure out what it is your next step should be. Feminine, our card from that same deck, Master Jesus and Forgiveness. You're on a path of light, love, and forgiveness. Father healing is possible at this time. This could be literal. This sadness that we have, this pain that we have, that maybe, again, we're not good enough. We're not seeing ourselves in the right light. We think that that's how other people feel about us, that they're making false judgments against us. All of that could be what's requiring forgiveness. Also, I said in other types of relationships, with the high priestess having come up, partnerships of different types, there could be a need for forgiveness and working something out. Second time around, didn't work the first time. We're reuniting. Now we're going to, figure out what it is. Coming to a crossroad, deciding, where we go from here, if anywhere. At least the forgiveness can happen. From the animal tarot to the masculine, the Six of Summer of Cups, which is another card about exes and friends and whatnot, people, things coming back from your past, in addition to being about children on some occasions. Often for me, like things tied to siblings and or your parents, when it's children, it's like your childhood. The love and care of children could become a particularly important part of your life, or people from your childhood may return to it. Old memories can be healed, or possibly old childhood dreams are ready to be revived. From that same deck to the feminine, the Seven of Autumn, Seven of Pentacles. The planning, resources, and efforts that you've invested in your dream will reap great rewards. In the meantime, have patience and meditate on your next steps. It means you've already otherwise done what you need to do in order to be able to move forward, in order to be able to take that next step. So again, allow, surrender, let it happen. For the masculine, speaking of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, it is the King of Air, King of Swords, who could be here representing the planet Mercury himself, or Venus herself, currently located and also retrograde in the sign of Gemini, which they both rule together. Brilliant, impartial, professional, and diplomatic. Speak your mind with confidence. Seek out professional advice and balance mental and emotional considerations. For the feminine, from that same deck, it is another dreamer or fool. So this could be particularly a message for those of you feminine archetypes who are also fire signs or have a lot of fire in your chart, or dealings with a fire sign, right? One is significant to you. This could be showing up because of that. Or a Gemini or Virgo. A leap of faith, follow your dreams. That leads to unexpected opportunities. I said Gemini and Virgo because in this particular deck, this card, it's always felt like Mercury to me, for whatever that means. I know, it doesn't really make sense. Oh, very nice. Lastly, speaking of partnership, masculine, sacred union. So when I was talking about, you could be thinking about family, expanding your family, growing your family, meeting someone. This could be it, right? This, your soulmate, your true match. That may be with whom you need to reconnect or connect for the first time. And again, communicate effectively to get your point across so that you can be successful. Could easily be an ex or something. Again, somebody from your past who returns or who you make an attempt to return to. And lastly, it is more images of Jesus and the universal heart. The universal heart shows up to remind us that, again, for those of us who are feeling some sort of like dysmorphia, maybe body dysmorphia, because I felt that was why the high priestess may have shown up for some of us. This is a reminder that we're all like super important. Like each little piece of the universe is necessary in order to make the one, the whole. Hope you guys have enjoyed the weekly reading, weekly general reading. I will be back with the love reading. If you did like the video, please actually like the video by giving it a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, please consider becoming one by hitting both the subscribe button and the bell button. And if you don't mind sharing, I appreciate it. It is caring. I thank you. Definitely also comment too. This is the newest in the list of things that YouTube says that we need if we want our videos to like show up in the feed and stuff, is the comments. So I thank you for it all, whatever you're willing to do. And even thank you to those of you who just watched and you don't want to do anything further. Thank you to you too. Namaste.